My father owned this place before me, and although I like to think I'm on good terms with the animals, but my father, he had a real gift. By the time he left, he'd been working here for nearly 2,000 years and knew the animals well. So, to mark his farewell, he decided to arrange a musical extravaganza. Humans were the chief troublemakers, disrupting the successful implementation of my father's plans. Humans are not permitted to watch the magic of wizards, so it can be a prerequisite on rare occasions to cast a spell and freeze them. And then, when the animals were all set, the musical show could start to spread its charm. The percussion animals took the lead. As the music traveled through the jungle, it was caught by the ears of other creatures. Guess who picked up the beat? The entry of the ostrich spread forth the sounds of the musical extravaganza. It grabbed the attention of all the animals in the woods, and the birds began to mesmerize with their melodious voices. The music spread throughout the forest, and then monkeys too started to croon. Its charm was spread all around the globe. As the roar of the music amplified, the animals began to groove. The splendid concert was applauded by one and all, and was a great parting gift for my father. And when silence prevailed once again, the frozen people were unwillingly dragged back to reality. It wasn't a bad experience after all, and they continued with their routine, without any idea what magic my father and the animal world had been up to. I think they should almost be ready.
I think it was 30 sneezes they wanted. For Ottomania. Now I'll need a travelling pot for this. My father first made this powder when he ran this place. This powder... This is plague sneezing powder. Even a small bit can cause trouble.
A long time ago, my father narrated a story to me of how he created this stuff. He was vacationing in Lagunia when he encountered an abandoned lake, and with nobody around, he began testing. He observed a few tiny flies, and when he scattered his new powder on them, they increased in number. He found out that he could produce more flies if he sneezed the powder. And before long, the border of the lake was teeming with hundreds of thousands of flies. Thrilled by his new plague sneezing powder, he used more and produced a swarm of 5 million flies. But flies are, after all, flies, and my dad wished to go for more vibrant stuff. He wanted trees decorated with ladybirds. And the sky abound with many 100 butterflies. But the spell of the plague sneezing powder soon fades, and the creatures come back to their normal count.
So my father's experiments were hardly noticed until his next set of experiments.
Locusts. Not his best pick, because after some heavy sneezes they multiplied to an unmanageable limit. And when there were more than 50 billion, he administered an anti-plague magic, but in vain. The locusts went on consuming everything that they came across. In sheer urgency, he sneezed on a bird in the hope that they would consume the massive locust swarms. But the vast flock of birds showed dislike in consuming locusts. And now, all of a sudden, he faced a plague of birds and locusts. He began losing his composure. To drive away so many birds, cats might be helpful. Could he actually produce a plague of cats? But what next? The plague of dogs to drive out the cats? No. A much better idea struck him. He took off for the clouds, sneezed, and caused the clouds to swell until the time they produced the fiercest thunderstorm. This purified the air, washing away the plague powder, and the creatures came back to their normal count. Once the clouds left, my father's plague dilemma ended, and he adulterated his powder to avoid such fracas occurring again.
From spending my life with animals, I can tell you many a story about how we wizards need them. They carry out our tasks for us, search for spell ingredients, or occasionally become the ingredients themselves. But they also have their more secret uses. There was once a wizard who discovered the source of all magic, a most powerful secret, and one which he decided to hide.
But where would he hide a secret like this one? It had to be well concealed, as in the world of the wizard there are both noble and evil powers. And evil powers would do anything to find out the source of all that is magical, as they could wreak havoc if they managed to find it. The noble wizard knew the lurking dangers, thus he decided to conceal the secret, and chose to interlace it into the land itself. The secret went into the ground. Certainly no one could comb the entire earth, but the evil powers had a scheme. And they influenced the creatures to help. The first creatures to look for the secret were the termites. As the termite soldiers drew near, the secret had been relocated. The evil powers hired the star-nosed mole to snuffle out the place where the secrets were hidden. And he also sought help of the desert mole rats. The creatures were capable of hunting the secret out, but to entrap it, the evil forces sought the help of the plants. As they could drill their roots down into the land, placing a net which would get hold of the secret. More desert mole rats went in, driving the secret on. The evil powers ordered more roots to grow. It appeared that the secret would eventually come out, but the noble wizard understood that his secret was in deep danger. And he came up with a mighty volcano through which his secret could evade the subterranean trap. The secret was eventually freed, and as he saw it go, he produced a key to find out who was the next keeper of the secret. A key which has been passed down to me. So I, and I alone, can see who is the present secret keeper. And that is just the way I'm going to keep it. Spiny creatures, scales, dust creators, invisibility, slime. Yes, here it is. I have someone coming in later, the spell inquiry. She needs a slime with a particular quality, something to bind a bad spell together.
She's coming in later to browse through my slime collection.
I clearly recall when I first made use of slime. On an annoying problem over in Mesopotamia. It began pouring in the jungle. But there was something weird about the rain droplets. They began going upwards instead of coming down. The cloud had caught a loose spell. It does happen sometimes. This was a horrible case, as it had caught a time spell which had collapsed. Soon, the nasty spell had covered the entire forest, leading to a glitch in time. The entire place started swinging backward and forward in the same moment of sealed time. I assumed that settling the problem with slug and snail slime would be as easy as pie. Their slime is a brilliant lubricator, and they are constantly secreting vast quantities. I gathered the slime and administered it to the time malfunction. But it only made everything sluggish. My mistake. I didn't realize that this is what snail slime would do. So I shifted my focus on a creature which secretes even stronger slime. The toads produce the most poisonous slime around. I gathered a small amount from the skin, and I combined it with the cane toad slime for extra power. Perhaps I just used more than what was required. My new slime froze the glitch, but then turned the jungle topsy-turvy. I understood that it would take another slime to handle this problem, so I embarked on an underwater trip, because here the slime has extremely unique qualities. The jellyfish's slime is complemented with a sting. And I visited the coast where thousands of them existed, because here I could gather sufficient stinging slime in the hope that this would solve the glitch in time. It had an instantaneous reaction, turning the jungle back the way it was and should be. And there, the problem was solved. And the creatures were at last free, and breathed a huge sigh of relief. Solving the problem was quite a task, but now I've become proficient at solving bad spells with slime, so... Unless she's a completely disastrous witch, there should be something here to bind her spells together. This is a wretched thing to fix. Witches' torches always tend to be tricky. Though this make, with a mark of the broomstick, is usually pretty reliable. This one comes from a competition two witch friends of mine once had. They always like to dare each other to do ridiculous things. And one of them dared the other that she wouldn't be able to survive a month, living as an animal.
She, of course, accepted the challenge, and her friend then gave her this, which turned up to be... at last.
An anti-torch. It creates dark rather than light. And when she turned it on, she realized her friend intended her to spend a month out of the sunlight with the creatures of the night. She was thrust into the dark by the anti-torch, and as she opened her eyes and saw the world was topsy-turvy, she understood she had been changed into a bat. She looked at the fruit bats surrounding her, saw how they were devouring figs, and she observed that others licked nectar throughout the night. Soon she befriended some bats, and her weeks went flying past. She loved being a fruit bat. This, she believed, would be a very easy month. But her friend, who was a witch, cast a magic spell which changed her into a cave bat. She was encircled by several raucous bats. She desperately looked for a way to escape. And then, to her delight, she found she could utilize sound to find her exit in that pitch dark. It is a standard trick the bats employ, which she had never used. And though it was impossibly black, she could find an exit. But as soon as she was free, her witch friend came up with other tricks. This time she found herself awakened on a branch. But what kind of bat was she this time? Probably that frog could come to her help. But before she could pose any question, he was devoured by a bat, swooping down suddenly. She realized and understood that this time she was a hunting bat. She believed she should give it a try, but trapping frogs is not an easy job to do. And before she could try her hands, her witch friend turned her for the final time into a vampire. She was frightened by the appearance of these bats. She tried to escape, but now this was her new family. And it was time to have food. She trailed them as they made their way out and watched how they fed by licking the blood from a donkey. She was too scared to approach. What a way to live! She was going to get her witch friend back for this. When she brought this in for me to sell, she told me that her prize for surviving had been to change her friend into whatever animal she wanted for the following week. And that her friend was presently spending the week as a dung beetle.
Depending on where you live, there may be too few or too many parrots in your life. Free or in captivity, they are birds of great fascination, spectacular and somehow special. But why are they so appealing and at times so appalling? Is it their intelligence, their humorous antics, or simply their colors that keep parrots popular? Color is an attraction. That's its purpose for this macaw. And parrots are the brightest colored birds in the world. The macaw is anything but camouflaged. It's a flying advertisement for healthy macaws. Little wonder people fancy having colorful parrots in the living room to go with the wallpaper. But these parrots are all green. The wallpaper in the wild is often green, and these birds like to disappear into it and hide. Now that's camouflage. A female macaw looking for a partner will be impressed by bright, healthy plumage, and it's brighter still in older, experienced males, a sign of quality in a prospective father of her chicks. But gaudy feathers not only advertise one macaw to another, they catch the eye of people in the villages down below. And in Brazil, the Kayapo Indians have admired and envied macaws for a long time. So much so, they like to dress in their feathers. The headdress maker's passion for plucking leaves the macaw a little short of its best plumage, but it does grow again. Grounded by loss of flight feathers and parted from their families, macaws settle for human companionship, like many other parrots all over the world. This Australian is really keen on rainbow lorikeets, and these are all wild. Intelligently, they come for the food put out for them every day. He is rewarded by their loyalty to his generosity, and hundreds of tourists turn up to see the colorful spectacle of man and parrots. The intelligence that draws parrots to us is far older than we are. Parrots in the South American rainforest need to find trees that are in fruit. Their problem is that not all trees fruit at the same time. There's another catch. The fruits often contain poisonous seeds. It's the plant's way of protecting itself. So, ingeniously, the parrots look for medicine, and the natural pharmacy they need is only a flight away. These cliffs are made of clay, and they eat it, the ideal cure for stomachache, perhaps working rather like a dose of kaolin does for us, or even counteracting the toxins in the seeds they've eaten. There's also a pecking order among the different kinds of parrots that use the cliff. The massed flocks of cockatoos in Australia, so useful for confusing predators, nowadays find themselves in conflict with farmers, and it's their intelligence that is their downfall. To begin with, the very common grey and pink cockatoos, the galas, learned how to open grain sacks. The farmers countered with parrot-proof grain stores. But plenty of grain was spilled onto the ground from trailers, so the farmers sealed the trailers, and the parrots watched and waited. Then the farmers began to feed corn to their cattle, and the clever cockatoos flocked to the fields to share the handout. Now there were more parrots than ever: galas, white cockatoos, sulfur-crested cockatoos, and others by the million. There's an uneasy truce on the farms today, but parrots do seem to rule, okay? Rice feeds the vast populations of China and other Far Eastern countries. It thrives through the intensive labor of thousands on the terraced paddy fields. But at the mouth of the Yangtze River, wild rice grows and still sheds its seeds, unlike cultivated varieties. Wild grasses, including rice, are attractive to wildlife. Finches with their seed-cracking beaks flock through the standing rice, and another creature that once lived only here, feeding and breeding freely, the black rat of Asia. But when rice production was expanded to meet human needs, these intelligent rodents moved to the fields and grain stores, their populations exploding as they thieved our food. Rice and rats were old partners. Hormones in the plants signaled to the rats when the crops would ripen, and the rats timed their breeding to these weeks of plenty. But soon stores became available all year. Crowded together, the rats breathed each other's breath, and odor messages told of new discoveries to please their insatiable appetite. The black rats shipped themselves from port to port worldwide. Humans virtually handed food out to them. Once nesting in hollow trees, this versatile plunderer took readily to the shelter of houses and the abundance of refuse available as cities grew. Without competition, they prospered and bred. Each female will have 5 litters a year, each with 10 babies. The multiplication rate is phenomenal. Their history paralleled ours. As the medieval human populations grew and spread, so the black rats followed. But hidden in their fur was a time bomb, fleas that sucked their blood and ours and transmitted disease. Like wildfire, the great pestilence of 1347 spread through Europe. Bubonic plague killed over 20 million people. Within 3 years, 1 person in 3 had died of the Black Death. A major recurrence of the plague in 17th century London only ended with the Great Fire of 1666. The rat had become the animal the world loves to hate. But today, in India, at this temple in Rajasthan, these rats are respected animals. In the Hindu religion, they are the representatives of the relatives of the goddess Karniji, and every night, this service is held to honor them. Hindus believe that all forms of animal life are to be revered. Every day for 400 years, pilgrims have come to worship alongside the reborn family of Karniji. Sweets are offered by devout Hindus who believe they will also be reborn as temple rats, and that the rats on their death will become villagers. Competing males spar for the right to mate, and a female on heat attracts more interest than she can possibly accommodate. It's little wonder there are so many. The rats can conduct their affairs with no fear of predators. Where a wild colony might number only 600, here there are 10,000. And in broad daylight, it's a rat heaven. The rats take all kinds of liberties with temple visitors. The animals, it seems, are clean, so there's no health risk to worshippers, some of whom come to share their food with the rats, who they believe to be their deceased friends and relatives. Rice for these rats comes cooked and curried, no problem for a rodent that conquered the world. ready for takeoff, the world's finest natural flying machine. A master of the skies, the peregrine has speed and agility. Its body is streamlined, the wings taper to a point. This falcon is built for the skill of acrobatic display and the rapid pursuit of other birds that are its prey. Like a fighter aircraft, this bird is equipped to kill. A squadron of pigeons is heading for some fields. The peregrine will choose only one. Catching sight of the danger, the pigeons scatter. The peregrine rapidly gains height, ready for its power dive. The pigeon is fast, but the peregrine can come out of the sun at up to 200 kilometers per hour, a deadly stoop. This pigeon will never know what hit it. The peregrine's natural home is a cliff-top kingdom. Its spring, and the female, properly called the falcon, is on eggs. Seabirds and rock doves are among the peregrine's prey. Of the 4 eggs, only 2 have hatched. The others are infertile. No matter how much the female taps the remaining eggs, no more chicks will emerge. She and her new family now rely on the male to bring food. He is smaller than his mate and is known as the tiercel. He's caught a rock dove, the ancestor of most common pigeons. At the nest, chicks and falcon must wait while their food is prepared. The tiercel has flown to a plucking post where he sets about removing the feathers from his kill. The tiercel delivers a plucked carcass, but it's the falcon that will feed her chicks with extraordinary delicacy. Strong updrafts of air are ridden with skill by the many birds of the sea cliffs, including this raven. But the peregrine is watching for the rock doves that nest in holes in the cliff. He's been their dangerous neighbor for thousands of years. Little wonder then that pigeons and peregrines have taken to a new home. The cliffs and canyons of New York are as attractive to pigeons as are the buildings in many cities. And the peregrine also is on the town in Manhattan. Streetwise as pigeon may be, from the west side to the east, but even on Fifth Avenue, there are dangerous eyes in the skies. Peregrine in New York is Superbird. He's an ally of the city cleansing department, and there are now more peregrines in New York City than in a similar area of countryside. His mate calls for food, and he'll pass it to her, togetherness among the skyscrapers. It's an office lunch for 4, and whoever else happens to be watching. The continuous cycle of life on Earth frequently depends on the cooperation and industry of insects. Among them are many kinds of wasps and bees, whose lives of intense labor in their elaborate palaces of wax in many ways mirror our own industrial society. Tenements of cells house honey and larval bees, mostly new workers, sterile females whose labors will fetch pollen and nectar from flowers and trees outside the secluded hive. Such factories of natural sweetness inevitably were found and exploited by our most ancient ancestors, and honey remains a delicacy worth the pains of collection. Harnessed in hives, colonies of bees now work for us. The miraculous way they navigate from flowers to honeycomb, a scientific wonder. With sacks on their legs loaded with pollen, bees return to the hive, setting course by sun compass and guided by familiar landmarks. Their sense of time adjusts for the changed position of the sun since they left. Guard bees at the entrance check the foraging workers in by scent. The hive must be protected from invaders. Constant fanning of the wings circulates air into the colony. Nectar, carried in a special stomach, is regurgitated to other bees that will assist its evaporation into honey. Now the forager tells her comrades where to find the best supply, and she indicates direction and distance by dancing, reenacting her journey. Following the route they've been told, they unerringly find the flowers. They note the position of the sun, which changes while they forage. The language of the bees is subtle, and their perception of light and time precise. Their ancient ways serve us well. Australian Aborigines, the bee is a spiritual partner, linking their world of mythological animals with their practical need to live off the land. Sweet sap released from the cut bark has attracted a bee that will now be tagged with a lightweight twist of spider's web. It's a tracker's trick that will make the bee easily visible for the man to follow. A bee's eyes perceive patterns of polarized light we cannot see that map the way to its nest. By following their sacred relative, the Aborigines can share its honey. Similarly, in Africa, this bird is a honey guide. The bird is attracted by the whistles of the Boran tribesmen, but almost immediately begins to move away from them. Its pattern of flight is a signal to the men that they should follow. Once again, this is an ancient partnership of bird and human. The honey guide knows where there is a bee's nest, and she has led the men, who are honey gatherers, straight to it. The bees are dangerous. The men use smoke to subdue the swarm. The honey guide waits patiently for its reward, a piece of the honeycomb full of grubs that the honey gatherers will not fail to leave. The pact is sealed, and the bird will betray the bees another day. There's one sound in the wilderness of Africa's Kalahari that will alarm even a lion. This is an ancient thunder, the hooves of African buffaloes on migration. They see a lioness as a threat. She hides from them prudently. Their horns and strength are to be respected. The herd pounds the earth on their way to water in the Okavango's delta. Today, they have the lioness under their control. But every morning is different for the nomads, as their nostrils catch the scent of distant rain, and with it, the promise of fresh pasture. Several of their number, weaker brethren, will be taken by lions they never see, striking from the cover of grass and bush. But that selective kill has made the herds strong and powerful. Fearless beasts like these were among the several ancestors of the docile cattle taken to the service of people around the world. The land was tamed by farmers to grow their crops. Technology improved the yield of foods. Inevitably, this new miracle of abundant growth was plundered. Rice and other grasses drew wild cattle to the fields, so laboriously planted. In time, the unwelcome invaders were tamed and yoked to serve the very task that provided them with easier food. The strength that earlier farmers revered in the tamer varieties of water buffalo they used at first was not lost when castration became the fashion to make them tamer still. But respect for them did decrease. They became beasts of burden with little will of their own, easily exploited as replacements for human labor. The dignity of their wild ancestors was lost in these city workers. But elsewhere, cattle do enjoy a more natural relationship with us. Splendidly horned, this herd is returning from fresh pasture. They're led not by a dominant bull as they would be were they wild, but by herdsmen of the Dinka tribe in southern Sudan. The animals have been watered on their way to this village and will be cordoned here for the night. These oxen can only survive here because of their attentive human companions, and the people likewise need the cattle for meat, blood, and milk. This cow will leave her calf in human care tomorrow while she's out to pasture. This privileged ox's Dinka companion lavishes care on an animal that has been his since he was a boy. Each day, this beast is fed in the village. It's a valuable asset, a dowry that may help the man find a wife. Songs the ox cannot understand are sung in its praise. The effect is to soothe the animal and strengthen the bond between animal and owner, without which neither could survive here. For cattle in India, that old close relationship of pastoralist and animal has become a part of Hindu mythology. The cow, a soul reborn, is revered and in elegant ceremonies is thanked for its sacred gifts of milk, ghee, yogurt, urine, and dung. Holy status gives these streetwise cattle immunity from persecution. Not for them a monotonous diet of garbage, functional as that may be to the cleaning of the city. These are shoplifters, protected by religion. Nothing but the best for them, and woe betide the Hindu who forgets to be devout. It's enough to test the patience of a saint.
Every warrior is equipped with weapons for battle. Different sorts of weapons aid animals in their pursuit of supremacy. The most dreadful of these are the teeth. Most carnivores have destructive incisors. They serve as an ideal means for tearing flesh and smashing bone. But the most formidable jaws are prevalent in the depths of the ocean. Sharks' teeth have a unique and lethal design. The razor-sharp teeth are constantly replaced. These are serrated marvels of nature, efficiently employed to crush the victim. No prey can escape from the deadly grip of these strong jaws. Moving further, few weapons can better a solid pair of horns. Horns are the perfect arms for winning mates and driving away hungry predators. A menacing set of horns acts as a deterrent against animals of prey, launching an assault on a seemingly simple target. Another important part of a predator's arsenal, claws. These sharp appendages are a great benefit. They are brilliant weapons for intimidating and combating adversaries. These birds possess a deadly combination of claws and a sharp beak, which makes them exceptional fighters and predators. Among them are some of nature's deadliest hunters. Used for seizing, piercing, or smashing, a beak is an important natural tool that aids in survival. Nature's sharpshooters capture their victims with amazing precision. The archer fish fires a watery missile to capture prey that are beyond the reach of other fish. Prey are confused and dazed by sound shockwaves emitted by some animals. The pistol shrimp's secret weapon is sound. The target is captured in just one click. Size has never been an issue with the mantis shrimp. Reinforced glass can be broken by this tiny creature's powerful punch. Tiny, but lethal. But irrespective of their size, animals have a captivating range of armaments, each with a brutal motive. In nature, life is a never-ending struggle for survival. Both the hunter and the hunted are constantly trying to outsmart each other. And they won't surrender their life without a tussle. In order to survive, hunters have developed increasingly specialized tactics. It requires an expert predator to capture an impala. But expertise comes at a price. The cheetah has renounced his strength for speed and nimbleness. If there are bees, then there will be bee eaters, and for fish, there are the kingfishers. Expertise does not guarantee safety. In the continually evolving arms race, nothing is safe. A bat listens for its prey while hunting at night. But with the help of a language which the bat understands, the moth wades off the attack with a disturbing screech. The mantis also has a ploy to escape the approaching bat. By closing its wings, it vanishes from the bat's sonar map. There is a defense for every attack, and this crab uses coral as his cover. But if that's not sufficient to keep hunters at bay, it uses an anemone as a stinging backup. When in danger, a catfish locks its spines, but one predator has come up with the answer and breaks his guard. A butterfly looks for warmth in the bright sun rays, but this spider uses a speckled web to trap its prey. Cleaner fish clean parasites from the gills of their unquestioning hosts. But it's not easy to ignore such an easy meal. So an impersonator takes advantage of it and bites off a little more. Trespassers are promptly dealt with in a colony of ants. But there's a unique caterpillar which has developed a tactic to stay alive. It secretes a sweet liquid from a gland on its back, which mellows down the ants and stops them from attacking. In the crusade over natural impulses, some are free, while others are still slaves. A crow has improvised and learned to use a tool to drag out its biting target. But when it comes to prevailing over impulses, the primates are the leaders. Chimpanzees use tools as armaments, the supreme force in the warrior arms race. Physical contact is not a must in every fight. Combat is a dicey affair, so a few of nature's most resolute warriors like to fight it out on the dance floor. A stalk-eyed fly is a nasty mover when he is assessing his enemy. Size for size, they measure the size of their eyes to decide who is the bigger competitor. The wider-eyed fly is the victor, and nobody gets injured. For many creatures, an eye-catching routine shows that you are really serious. And with armaments that could be lethal, it helps to show off before getting into deadly combat. Synchronized performance is not simply for exhibition. Females also enjoy a quality song and dance routine, and male birds are happy to oblige with terrific performances. So with performance as the parameter, a well-coordinated show is the ideal way to flaunt all your credentials. Extravagant footwork is fine, but for fighting, you also require endurance. So in the pursuit of a mate, some quit the quick step and loosen up for the war dance. Ground scraping and head nodding can discourage an enemy, but at times you have to get physical. Some things are not important enough to fight for, so animals assess the odds in a testing ceremony of strength before putting everything at stake in what could turn out to be a fight to the death. Animals of all sizes use custom to check their endurance without the risk of getting physically hurt. Ibex take it to the next level as the rivals struggle for supremacy in a battle of bravery and stamina. With bodies suited for combat and skulls toughened to withstand impact, some pick up the gauntlet and go right into head-to-head battle. Customs have rules, but not all rules are meant to be followed. And when opponents meet their match, it is time for a mortal challenge, and the warriors engage in a brutal battle of strength and potency. Where there are victors, there are also the vanquished. And when the situation becomes too dangerous, one can always withdraw and back away. No place is safe, as there are predators lurking all over the place. Some wait patiently, whereas others are experts at camouflage. But irrespective of the way the hunter's attack is planned, one thing remains constant: the element of surprise. Trailing a nimble-footed prey calls for maintaining a low profile. Therefore, the night is an appropriate time for a leopard to hunt. The dark surroundings help the predator to move in on its target. But the timing is critical during a surprise attack. A single mistake can spoil the whole game. Not all animals go out searching for food. Food can itself come knocking at your door with the right tactics. An anglerfish swings an enticing morsel, tempting the target with its rod and line. However, there are many ways to trap a fish, and these fish are in for a vicious surprise. What appears to be food is actually a snapping turtle's tongue, a bait with a deadly camouflage. While some work hard to lure their prey, others relax and play the waiting game. Insects are masters of disguise with different exteriors that blend into their surroundings. But it is not necessary for an insect to wear its own outfit. An assassin bug decorates his disguise with the help of termite waste. A good ploy for a successful hunt is to hide. Even meticulous planning is no guarantee of a perfect result. However, the secret of an ideal ambush is when everything looks perfectly in place. Life is a self-centered vocation. Animals encounter fierce rivalry to find a partner and claim a territory. No matter what the size is, territories are harshly wrestled for. Male cichlids lay claim to a particular heap, which they raise and guard. Dung beetles do battle over a coveted ball of compost. Robins lay claim to a territory that can stretch up to more than several hundred square meters, and they will guard them to their death. Male cheetahs claim territories ranging up to 30 square kilometers, and they guard them, like the robins, as long as they are alive. A huge pride of lions will consume 70 kilos of flesh every day and need about 400 square kilometers of territory. A male tiger will have many females under his purview and will consume anything inside it, which includes human beings. But the world's largest cat, the Siberian tiger, lays claim to a territory of more than 1,000 square kilometers. Some animals charm partners by calling. Howler monkeys are audible from a distance of 2 kilometers. While down at the base of the jungle, frogs croon to their partners at night. Cicadas also call to attract mates, but the whales sing the noisiest love songs. A set of coloured items is used to excite the female bowerbird. Dazzling feathers or amazing shows of dance are all methods of attracting females. The most detailed display will gain a partner. With a few birds, a male might have to establish his hunting skills or show off his flying talents before he is accepted by his partner. Some animals desire all of it, not just territories or a single partner, they must have everything. And it's because of this they fight. A Mustang stallion has a group of up to 6 concubines to protect. A commanding fur seal holds a much tinier territory, but has up to 50 females and actively guards them. Timber wolves hold the largest territories in the world. It's the alpha male and female who are the privileged to mate. They administer over a terrain of about 800 square kilometers, at least until the upcoming challenge. The struggle involving predator and prey has given rise to chemical warfare. Poisonous mixtures are prepared to capture and fend off enemies. Chemical weapons are vital instruments of survival for a large number of predators. Furtive methods are used by snakes to deploy their chemical weapon. One quick strike uncorks a potion of benumbing venom. A spider's fangs are laced at the tip with a concoction of toxins which start to digest the prey before it is even devoured. Instead of killing the victim right away, a number of chemical weapons just paralyze the prey for it to be swallowed alive. Such venom is put to use by the cone shell to lethal effect. The Portuguese man-of-war has tentacles that have an arsenal of venomous-tipped harpoons which fire when touched. The impact is immediate. Chemical weapons are among nature's most valuable defenses. Toxic secretions do well to blunt the sharpest of appetites. The bombardier beetle makes use of its defense with greatest effect. Other insects gain their repellent characteristics from munching on noxious plants and exuding them. The sea slug here consumes the stinging cells of anemones, making them a part of their defensive armory. venomous spines are a deadly deterrent. Animals that choose chemical shields care little for hiding. Actually, advertising it is rewarding. A more refined way to make use of the art of chemical warfare entails beguilement. The lady moth's sexual scent draws the opposite gender towards it from far-off places. Imitating this perfume is the bolas spider, enticing the romantic male into a sticky trap. Amazon ants make use of scent to conceal their presence in colonies other than theirs. With the defences down, they raid the nest. The predatory beetle imitates the chemical light show of a lady firefly. The male, oblivious to his imminent fate, is lured by the anticipation of passion. These are nature's chemical fighters, part of a continual evolutionary experiment in the war to stay alive. In nature, the battle for females and terrain is very competitive. Males are needed to prove their worth and fight to acquire the privilege to procreate. Regardless of how they make their presence felt, a male always tries to show just one thing. He is more manly than his competitors. Size counts, and for an elephant seal or mirounga, the greater the better. Having more than 50 concubines with him, he ought to keep a watch on the poking males around. Being equal to 5 females in size, a male can weigh more than a ton, and being that, the seal can be a tough opponent. But machismo doesn't depend on body size or on weight only. A bulky set of horns can also be very important. While excessive feathers denote health and vigor. Size signifies maturity and power, which means security for a female. A huge, brawny male signifies healthy genes. And if he has got territory, then it can indicate security as well. Territory needs to be protected, but as it's far-flung, a lion cannot administer it in person. Hence, he chooses to mark his presence with his odour. For several male animals, somebody being out of sight doesn't necessarily mean he is out of mind. Smearing his surrounding with his scent, a male can intimidate his most relentless rivals. Scent can easily turn your rivals off, but if you really want your competitors to know where you are, you need to create some noise. For several animals, a deep, prolonged sound signifies a big male. Hence, for small competitors, it's prudent to leave. Size, smell, and sound are nature's way of expressing power and position. But at times that is not sufficient, and being macho amounts to a clash of absolute raw force. Predators are well equipped to kill, but a few prey animals have built protection to beat these deadly weapons. Beetles or Coleoptera have their skeletons on the exterior of their bodies, forming a suit of protective cover like a medieval soldier. Though light in weight, the hard shell is extremely tough and can be shaped into a large number of different designs. Hermit crabs utilize old snail shells for protection, but when they grow bigger than them, they have to move fast to defend their exposed hindquarters. Caddisfly larvae prepare their own defense from stones and plants. Whilst the pangolin has a string of intertwined scales, making it nearly unassailable when it curls up. For defense, the hedgehog makes use of spines instead of scales. Up to 5,000 of them provide defense against predators and falling. Starfish spines make similar protective points in water. Porcupines can lift and drop their spines whenever they want and can surmount the most powerful of predators. But if you wish to steer clear of skirmishes completely, blending in is the ideal defense. Camouflage can make an animal invisible until there is movement. A starving predator assaulting a pufferfish will be taken aback. To protect itself, it can swell itself to the size of a spiky football. Inflating yourself to look huge is a fine deterrent, and having eye-like markings can baffle the predator. Squid and octopus are predators that move extremely quickly, but when they wish to flee, they hide behind a spurt of black ink. Plovers make use of acting talents to divert their enemies from their nests. They act as if they have a broken wing and go back to their eggs when the danger has subsided. What's strange is that some animals pretend to be dead to defend themselves. Birds of prey respond to movement and they pay no attention to a still body. Most animals, by losing parts of their bodies, can make the greatest sacrifice. Lizards can cut off their tails, and lobsters can let go of legs to run away. Remarkably, a starfish can redevelop completely from only one leg. But the axolotl can redevelop parts of its body in a few weeks' time, making use of one of nature's most amazing protection rackets. To sustain life, food is essential. A clash at the dinner table can be brutal for a meal vitally needed to survive. For sand tiger sharks, competing with siblings starts early, inside the womb. Fetuses tear each other up and leave behind a well-fed survivor ready to face the cutthroat competitive world. The struggle for food starts after birth for most animals, so reaching the best nipple is an advantageous beginning in life for piglets. Young hyenas equipped with needle-sharp teeth from birth can go all bloody in their wrestle to suckle. Golden eagle chicks tussle for food, and the biggest of the chicks applies its strong beak to push its sibling out of the nest. Same species animal groups together to feast on a food source, but even they contest among themselves to get their share. Hence, the bigger you are, the better it is for you. The same food will be contended for by different species. Known for its speed, the cheetah can never imagine competing with the strength of a lion. Big predators snatch what they want from the smaller hunters using sheer strength. But when the opponent is greater in number, the situation is opposite. Piranhas assemble and wait for a good opportunity. As the rivers sink, the fish are compelled to battle for every morsel, and some adopt cannibalism. A stealthy move can assure some food, but you have to be cautious, as you could become the meal if caught. This spider is oblivious to a hungry thief lurking in the wings. As she is busy feeding, the intruder creeps in to ransack her store. A times, all efforts to evade the loss of a hard-earned meal can go in vain. The most eventful food contests happen when there are several mouths to feed. A vulture's long, slender neck makes room for more of the corpse during a feeding session. One doesn't expect table manners to be followed here in any way. The fight for food goes on. It is hard to face the difficulties of life alone. Hence, in order to survive, a few animals live in groups and face the hardships together. It proves beneficial to be a part of the team, for the hunter as well as the hunted. A hungry beast can easily target solitary prey. But such huge numbers prevent anyone from attracting attention. The best defense is to stay in groups. So confusion is an apt shield for animals that are preyed upon. Predators hunting in groups can make larger prey an easy target. The victim's escape becomes difficult when it is attacked by a coordinated group of hunters. A pack of wild dogs assist each other in an organized manner to make the kill, whereas other hunters simply overwhelm the prey with sheer numbers. Lions split their responsibilities while hunting prey. They are aware of the dangers involved and together are willing to sacrifice themselves for the benefit of the pride. It is prudent to work together. The presence of a threat is promptly communicated amongst each other. A few look after the young ones, while others take the responsibility to stand guard against attackers. Though large numbers provide strength and security, the secret of success lies in unity. A powerful leader is the driving force that guides every successful army. The queen orders her army to guard and look for food. It is impossible to escape these vigilant sentries. They are always ready to die for the sake of their colony. This great army forms an overwhelming unit. The notion that the female of the species is blameless is not always right. In fact, she can be far more cruel than the male. A female python generally has a weight that is 5 times more than that of the male. Her extra flesh in the waist is fat reserve utilized during breeding. But as soon as she finishes breeding, she metamorphoses from progenitor to predator. The female's function goes beyond just raising their babies in some species. Lionesses are caring mothers and female fighters. When they go hunting, they coordinate as a team. A fine example of female solidarity. Lady killers lead hyenas. The females bear male hormones which make them larger and more powerful than the males. They also carry pseudo-male genitals. The termite queen is capable of living 30 years and bringing up millions of impotent workers whose sole aim is to nourish and guard her. She actually makes them work till death. Queen ants bring up a labour force of daughters, a community of lady killers who are the most organised on Earth. Colonies of bees are similarly led by a queen bee, but being a cannibal, she will fast consume eggs that aren't hers. When a cuckoo lays eggs in the nest of another bird, she secures the destiny of that family. Her chick emerges out of the eggs in 2 weeks and kills the potential rivals for food. Female jacanas are likewise very cruel while looking for a partner. It is the male jacana who defends the eggs. A female on the lookout for a partner will vanquish his nest, leaving him free to copulate with her. In the case of spiders, the female is often more lethal compared to the male. Her frail male partners should tread with caution as she is size-wise 20 times to him and hungry. That is in fact fatal attraction. Male mantids have to suffer the same fate. Many of them are consumed while mating. This female needs love. For prairie dogs, the fight for food is ferocious. Half of the total number of pups are buried alive by the neighbouring mothers. But the greatest femme fatale could be the mosquito. Among them, the males are not carnivorous, while the females are. And as they are fed on blood, they spread malaria, an epidemic that vanquishes more than 1 million people per annum. Young animals have a number of things to discover. The moment they start seeing things around their environment, they react. Fighting while playing is inborn, but it conceals a grey side. It sharpens the expertise needed to go hunting. This expertise comes to the fore when prey is brought back home alive. When the jaw muscles are not fully formed, biting causes no harm, making learning lessons a harmless process. Play fighting is a way in which they train before the actual thing, which can be deadly. The games they involve themselves in when young mean business. Only practice makes perfect. As they enter adulthood, young animals compete. Displaying their skills can help in establishing supremacy. Springbok show their fitness off by pronking. An experienced predator would select a weaker victim. Play fighting ascertains the pecking order. It's a frantic struggle for supremacy. Lambs involve themselves in the outdated game of King of the Castle. These are danger-free imitations of clashes. But these battles have a serious side. The one who emerges victorious will rule in adulthood. When fighting, there are rules that need to be followed. Giraffes use their necks just as well as a kick could be deadly. Quite a few lessons need to be learned from these games of pleasure. Even a casual maneuver can set off a reaction. A game replete with fun educates the animals in the lessons of life. Play fighting is the way to learn. Just ask a schoolgoer and you will know the best method to learn is while you are enjoying. This female cheetah will always be on her own to fulfill her duties as mother, no matter what happens around her, or under what kind of weather. These cubs will need her full-time care for the next 2 years. Even if soaked wet after the rain, they must brace themselves for anything that may come along. They need to build up strength and experience in order to endure the tests lying ahead of them. One very first move is learning how to prey on the best possible meal. This is the young cheetah's first hunting trip, although not as protagonists, but as simple viewers of what their mother is able to catch. One favourite target is definitely the Thomson gazelle. Stealthy moves at a relatively close distance are as essential as the final spring into action. These are the cheetah's best assets, and the cubs are there to watch and learn from their mother. There's a 50-50 chance of successfully hunting the prey down. Yet feeding and raising her youngsters takes a lot of consistency. It's been a while since their last meal, so the cubs impatiently get closer for their bite. The acacia tree is the family's favourite place to rest and shelter from the sun. The young cheetahs are growing up fast thanks to their mother's work over the past year. Despite all the practice and lessons, the cubs have not yet killed any prey. Their final lesson comes now that their mother has brought them a gazelle's fawn. As cruel as it may look, if the cubs don't build enough confidence to master a kill, they have little chance of making it to adulthood. Speed and nimbleness are what these cheetahs are renowned for to survive alone on the tough wilderness of the African plain. Now it's their time to finally prove to themselves that they belong to the fastest springing mammals of all. Before they are even born, these minute bullfrogs are already fighting to survive. They first appear still as eggs in rainwater puddles bound to dry up soon. Thousands of tadpoles have only 2 days to hatch and swim for the first time into the ever-receding water. Through a secretion of their skin, they mutually identify themselves and swim along in swarms for safety reasons. It won't be an easy journey to adulthood, as the water level goes down rapidly. Some other fatal hurdles will also be in their way. Once again, some chemical substances have helped to deter possible predators. But that doesn't seem to work with this kind of snake. It's so fortunate that their father has been watching over them. Now the situation could become hairy for the snake. Male bullfrogs take good care of their numerous brood and are always ready to confront any possible foe. Plus, adult bullfrogs have snakes in their list of edible options. Better slither off and hide. At this early stage, tadpoles are definitely a juicy bite for many predators out there, so father's protection is needed. But nothing is more lethal for this species than the lack of their vital element, water. The adult skin remains moisturized by another gooey secretion of theirs, yet tadpoles do not produce it yet. As time goes by, the heat of the sun dries up the puddle, and their luck seems to be doomed. Their father gets busy digging a ditch to make them flow toward deeper water, and vice versa. But time is running out. And many will succumb helplessly. Unexpectedly, some water seems to move in their direction, and the dried up infants now have a way to swim through and go back to life again. The race against time is on again as the infant frogs start feeding themselves frantically. They instinctively know that there's little time to grow into their adult form. Finally, this change to come will allow them to breathe properly, no matter how deep the pond is. The metamorphosis starts when they are only 18 days old, and their indistinct black mass will soon turn into a colourful and agile adult. As froglets, they have now developed their own lungs and can finally leap freely onto the land. As light as 90 grams, these minute clumps of feet, beaks and feathers are helplessly vulnerable as eggs hatch. But they're not born alone. The baby chick's first sight ever is her mother. The bald eagle parents will be constantly protecting and feeding their chicks for the next 11 weeks. It'll be a relentless job. The Arizona desert is the perfect environment to build a nest and rear the young eagles in a safe background. What really makes the difference is the presence of the nearby river, a vital source of food and nourishment. Hunting is what Mother Eagle does best. She's able to spot the fish from a great distance. She keeps an eye on her prey, and hits in one fell swoop. This lucky year, there's so much fish to feed the hungry chicks with. They constantly need more and more. Sometimes, without much food around, things might take a different turn. Generally, the younger chick is bound to succumb as the parents focus more on the older and stronger newborn to make sure that one at least will be able to grow. Luckily, this time around, finding food is not a problem, and both parents share their duties as they take good care of their offspring in the nest. It might take quite some time for the chicks to spread their wings so regally in the sky. Slowly but steadily, the chicks will learn how to survive from their parents. As seasons change, the baby birds are fledging and turning into adults. Long wing and tail feathers are the last to grow completely. For the next 3 weeks, the fledgling will be practicing her moves and honing her skills as muscles develop enough to finally leave the nest. It's never easy. Self-confidence also comes from observing what her mother is doing. Until the time is right. Flying means freedom, independence, and it gives her the chance to discover what the world around has to offer, now that she can ride the winds. Termites unwillingly host the eggs of an intruder inside their mound. As seasons go by in the South Australian outback, it looks like the cracking eggs are about to reveal not the shape of another insect, but a newborn lace monitor lizard comes out instead. The termite mound has served as its nest, and the microclimate inside has been perfect to reach the hatching point. Nonetheless, its hard shell keeps the newborn caged inside, and it's time for them to want out. That's when their mother comes back into play to help their first moves. It's her first time back at the nest in 9 months. Meanwhile, the mound is way bigger, as the termite colony has been growing ever since she laid her eggs. The young must be in there, but she's not sure where exactly to dig in order to set them free. The colony has given them protection and worked perfectly, as the nest now resembles a stronghold with its fortifications, which she has to tear down. Her motherhood only ensures that final step. Altogether, she's seeing her offspring for the first and last time. Once done with that, it's time to move on. Her babies are on their own to cope with the elements and the dangers of wildlife. Now out in the open with nothing to protect them, these tiny lizards could become easy prey for the predators down on the forest floor until the day they turn into 2-meter-long fully fledged predators. Yet now, trouble is everywhere around them. Running for his own life is just an intuitive move, and it definitely feels safer up a tree. This newborn olive ridley turtle scrambles out of the sand unaware of the manifold perils all around to begin with. The protection of the sea isn't that far away, although it's quite an endeavour to cross a 40-metre stretch of sand. October is that time of the year in Costa Rica when black vultures hover around to devour as many babies as possible. As terrible as it may sound, this massive carnage is due to the millions of hatching eggs buried in the sand. Hence, chances are many among the strongest will make it to the sea with a bit of luck. This baby turtle seems to have found his way to the sea. Instead, he's wobbling towards danger again. A ghost crab is there waiting to prey. The hatchling is too small to face any confrontation. Furthermore, jagged pincers could be deadly. His enemy is definitely faster and stronger. Unexpectedly, the baby manages to scurry away. It's a never-ending struggle, as frigate birds are ready to fly in for the kill. Unfortunately, the colour of these tiny sea turtles is enhanced by the pale sand, making it even easier for these aerial predators to swoop down and hit. All kinds of hurdles hamper their way towards the sea, yet survivors are determined to carry on. It's in their nature to always find a way out. Of all the hatchlings that have dug their way out of the sand in the daylight, very few endured the journey. Basically, 1 in 1,000 will live long enough to come back to this same shore and breed a new generation of olive ridley turtle. Hundreds of thousands of wildebeest know the rainy season is drawing near. Among them, also thousands are pregnant and ready to deliver. And within a 3-week time window, the whole year's calves will see the light. This massive amount of births is also influenced by the cycle of the moon. From the womb and straight onto Earth, this newborn must find the way to stand up on its shaky legs in no time. Of all the hoofed species, wildebeests are the fastest to get on their feet as their life really depends on it. The herd just cannot afford to stop moving, and the calf must be ready to keep up with the pace any time. The licking process shows mutual acknowledgement of each other's smell. Then the feeding comes next, and both now are united by their specific odour alone. It'll be crucial in the days to come. In such huge herds, getting lost is somewhat common for the inexperienced calves, and they can only count on their mother's careful protection. But the African plains teem with all kinds of danger. The voracious hyenas seem to have a penchant for young wildebeest flesh. Young calves are even better. So they linger around, biding their time. Instinctively, the newborns try to camouflage behind their mothers, and the crowded area might also be of some help. But at some point, the prowling hyena springs into action. And there's no other solution than to run. Two days after birth, and such young calves can run for their life as fast as an adult. Females don't leave without a fight to defend their babies. But it's just a matter of time and luck. Unfortunately, many of the newborns will be hunted down by some kind of predator anyway. This baby has escaped his first attack and heads back into the safety of the multitude as they all chase the rains. These many births in such little time is a way to beat the odds through life's ruthless selection, on which lets only the strong survive. And the story repeats itself as the calves take their first steps in the ever-moving herd, ready for another migration. This baby macaque's life has gone through some dramatic changes in the past few days. Throughout his mother's pregnancy, he's been snug up in the warmth of her womb. Now all of a sudden, the light of a new world has unfolded before his eyes. His mother will do everything she possibly can to take good care of her baby by grooming and protecting him relentlessly. The baby instinctively knows his mother's arms and his birthplace are the only certainties in the dangerous forest around him. The troop get out of the shade in search for food and a pool on the beautiful sandy beach. What better place than his mum's tummy to hang on to and take a first trip down to the shore? It feels so good to join everybody else and spot out tasty seafood while foraging along the shoreline. Being carried around has a few setbacks, like some occasional dunking here and there, but the baby manages to never lose his grip. A baby macaque can normally count on a somehow extended family. When he's 2 months old, it's time to take a broader glimpse at the world around him by riding on mum's back, now that his arms feel stronger. From here, he can have a better picture of what he needs to learn. Life is still too much of a mystery at this young age. His mum is still his only source of shelter and support. As social life goes on, it's inevitable to witness an ever-changing swing of friends and foes. This is quite a scary experience for the young macaque, and it's better to stay out of trouble. Once the turmoil is over, it's time to loosen up and rummage around for some more food. Making friends is rather critical, even at this age. Later in the future, some of them will become his best allies in these daily fights. The process of finding friends is a fundamental learning experience in order to become a successful member of macaque society. This grizzly bear cub has never experienced anything but the safety and warm hug of her mother inside the den, probably located somewhere underground and covered with inches of snow. But now that the temperature is more acceptable as the winter goes by, it's time for her first trip out in the open. These snowy wastelands will soon become a familiar path, and it all starts with following her mother's tracks. There are other families now coming down the mountains, and all for the same purposes. Inside the lair, the cubs have been gulping their mother's milk, whereas she hasn't seen any food for quite a while. Now it's her time to eat, and she has the whole family wade through the snow toward the best place ever to find food. Alaska's coastal rivers and rapids are crammed with salmon, and here is where many bears gather from all over the place. Protein and fat are such great nourishment to then produce more milk for the ever-hungry offspring. But it takes a lot of practice and experience to catch salmon, and that comes with time and patience. Without honing their skills, nothing is what some inexperienced end up with. The cubs learn by watching the mother's example as they stay around her, although frightened by the roar of the rapids. While she's focusing on grasping her salmon, one of her cubs has gone astray, and she hasn't realized it yet. The turbulence of the white water and the always belligerent males combined have turned this river into a place to avoid. Mother bear brings the catch to safer ground so that her youngsters can have their very first bite of salmon meat. Sure enough, they seem to love it. But for the mother, the terrible truth only now unfolds. Her missing baby is dead. Whatever happened to him would be hard to find out. He might have drowned or been attacked by some aggressive male. Good enough reason to decide to leave the scene with the other two cubs. Once away from the confusion around the river, the youngsters can start having their share of fun in the wide open spaces. The family will remain as such for the next 2 years. Fed and protected by their mother, the youngster will grow up strong and learn all that it takes to face the unknown out there in the wilderness, to then eventually be on their own. This female spotted hyena newborn is virtually blind, and although still crawling around her mother's den, she impulsively starts to show aggression toward her sister. As cruel as it may look, young sisters are the most dangerous foes to one another right after birth. At this early stage, she's able to sink her sharp teeth into her sister's skin, determined by the natural impulse to lead the pack. Another pup follows into the ongoing fight, yet being a boy, he should be spared by the more motivated sisters. Lots of male hormones run into a female hyena's system, and that is the reason why they are so inclined to aggressive behavior. In the clan, there's always a dominant bitch that will pass her status on to the stronger daughter. Thus, in the case of twins, the fight will unavoidably get fiercer. Suckling time is essential, hence a break followed by a truce is more than welcome. Generally, males always have an underdog status inside the clan, whereas the two females' leading position will be crucial as far as becoming the dominant matron. The instinctive fight for supremacy makes it hard on the mother to keep everyone at bay. It's about time to make acquaintances around the group. The process of growing together involves pups and the youngsters. It's part of that bonding development which will see them hunting together. But there's still a lot to learn about the world around them. The intense social life of the clan needs a strong hierarchy, which is constantly marked by the different members' smell and behavior. This family seems to be pretty united, which means the pups have a good chance to make it to adulthood unharmed. Again, this sort of endless training from day one is somehow forging these youngsters into what hyenas are known for. And not many rivals can really defy a united clan in their territory on the African plains. The minute caterpillar of an owl butterfly arises from a hatching egg the size of a grain of salt. As they come out of their egg cases, these caterpillars make their first meal from the leftovers. It's a very nutritious food supply, the first of many more meals to come. These youngsters have something in common with all caterpillars: eat at all times relentlessly. Eating this much makes the caterpillars grow out of their skin, which then has to be shed and replaced. This common crow caterpillar sheltered under a leaf hangs from his own silk to finalize the molt. When the old skeleton cracks up, youngsters slither out of the old skin as a new one has grown already. At first, caterpillars are incredibly small and thin if compared to their adult size, which is 20,000 times bigger. Basically, they turn into a swelling lump of protein. On the other hand, being this healthy means they can also become juicy bites for others. This youngster's only defense is to lay low and immobile. But it takes more than that sometimes. Camouflage is a caterpillar's only weapon to avoid unwanted attention. Some even have a natural talent for concealment, theatrical at times. The resourceful caterpillar uses a smart technique to avoid attack by building a sort of thick wigwam made of its own skill, combined with his peculiar leaf-biting ability. Only a limited amount of caterpillars make it to this stage. If so, they will have made it through incredible odds. It takes more than a few days for the caterpillar's body to contract and shape into a little beauty of nature called the pupa. Inside the hardened case, the caterpillar's body splits into separate parts to then open up and amazingly mold into its adult shape. Through this stunning transformation, the caterpillar exists no more as such. Adulthood has given it wings to fly and finally turned its crawling nature into that of a graceful creature, a butterfly.